So happy to have you here. My name is Jasmine, and I'm going to give you a little bit of background on my life and on my language learning journey, starting with Morocco. If you are new here, I lived in Morocco for about 2 years, and the experience was fantastic. And I think that learning French really helped with just my overall experience. It was one of the many factors that helped with me just being comfortable with living in Morocco and being able to communicate. So let's dive a little deeper into my experience with learning French for moving to Morocco. So I learned French in Washington, D.C. That was before, obviously, moving to Morocco. And I spent about 3 or so months learning French, and it was very quick. It was an accelerated type of class, at least accelerated for me. I studied a lot. I did all of the things that I needed to do because I wanted to make sure that I, was doing my due diligence to really learn as much as I could. But it definitely wasn't enough. I feel like if I had a year or more to learn, I would be set, and maybe even closer to fluency than I am now. I definitely have lost a lot of my French. It still comes up every once in a while. But yes, learning French before moving abroad really helped me not only communicate, but feel comfortable with my surroundings, with talking to people and all of that stuff. It gave me confidence. It definitely did, compared to my time in India, which I'll talk about that in just a second. But yes, so I did in fact use my French in Morocco. I used it a lot less than I thought that I would. I thought that I would move to Morocco and I would just be speaking French left and right, but I used it when I needed it. And a lot of the people that we hung out with, they did in fact speak English. And that is something that we'll talk about in a couple of points down. The idea that you will speak English where you'll be moving to, but it all depends on your circle and your bubble. So if you're an expat from America moving to another country, you will most likely be in a bubble of other Americans, but it is still important to learn the language so that you are not stuck in a bubble of people that speak your native language. You want to be able to branch out. So I think learning French in Morocco did that for me. People have asked me, what is the difference between learning French and learning Arabic? So with me only having learned French before moving to Morocco, I found that I was able to use it more for work purposes. It really was beneficial in the neighborhood that I lived in. We lived in Casablanca as a whole city, and a lot of people did in fact speak French in Casablanca. But in other cities, Arabic is actually a lot more common. And so you want to make sure that you are learning the appropriate language for where you are moving to, because in a lot of different countries, different languages will be spoken. And so French was appropriate for my time in Casablanca, but if I lived maybe in Marrakesh, I would have maybe preferred learning Arabic. But I did learn a little bit of Arabic, shوية بشوية. And I say a little bit because every day or so, a friend of mine would give me Arabic phrases to learn, and maybe he would just speak to me in Arabic. But that is one of the main reasons for this video. I feel like learning Arabic while in Morocco wasn't as beneficial to me as learning French before moving to Morocco, because one, my friend and I would just have conversations in English. So I would just say to him, I'll learn it. I'll write down a few key phrases. And then I never studied them because I didn't have to. I already had French. I already had English. And he was speaking to me in English. It just felt like it was nice to know. It was a nice language to kind of practice. It was cute at times to kind of like have me say a couple of words, but it was something that I did not actively practice and did not actively learn. I do regret not knowing and learning more Arabic, but again, having that French was beneficial. So at least I had one language sort of under my belt. I wasn't fluent at all, but I definitely tried tried my best, and I was able to communicate when needed. And I apologize for the connection if it's going in and out a little bit. This um, stream will be recorded, and it is powered by StreamYard, so very thankful for them for this platform. So, why do I think you need to have some basic language learning skills when moving to Morocco? I think because it's just necessary. I'll get to the point where me living in India, learning a language, quote unquote, was not necessary, but I do feel like learning a language for Morocco is necessary. Either learn French or Arabic. I highly recommend that you do. So, yes, you can get by if you don't have the language, but it is it's just more difficult. I feel like it's more difficult, and you have a lot of other things that you will be needing to acclimate to, and culture shock and all of that stuff. So I highly recommend that you do learn at least French or Arabic before your move to Morocco, if that is your plan. But if you are moving to India, um, that is a little bit of a different story, people will say. For me, I moved to India basically right after moving from living in Morocco. So I lived in Morocco for 2 years, had about maybe like 3 months of a break in the United States, and then moved straight away to India. And that wasn't enough time for me to learn a language or conceptualize the idea of learning a language. I think I was at Universal Studios and hanging out with my parents and like eating all the American food. And I was just enjoying my time at home. And it wasn't until I got to India where I was like, I didn't prepare language wise. I didn't really like do anything monumental when it came to my language learning. And I will be honest with you, people told me that I didn't need to learn a language for India because people speak English. And honestly, people speak English all around the world. But as Americans and as Westerners, we approach a country situation with a very privileged mentality that people are going to speak my language. And it's important that we speak the language in the country that we're moving to, whether or not people do in fact speak English. It's important for us to just appreciate where we're moving to. And I feel like, yes, I appreciated India. I loved living in India. It was great, but I didn't take the time to appreciate all aspects of India. And I feel like that definitely stunted my growth as a person, and it also stunted my experiences as well. I wish I learned Telugu, which is the language primarily spoken in Hyderabad, but you can also learn Hindi. Hindi is universal in a lot of places in India. But if I learned Telugu, I think I would have, I don't know, I just would have culturally acclimated better. I was fine, but I don't want to move to a country in the future with my mindset of being just fine. Like, I want to grow, I want to excel, I want to communicate, I want to just flourish in all aspects if possible. I know, life is not as easy as we just say or hope or wish, but I think if we speak these things into existence, flourishing can happen. But yes, I definitely wish I learned Telugu or Hindi. And yeah, I'm going to get into 3 reasons why I think you need to learn a language, so you're not in the situation that I felt like I was in India, and more of where I felt like I was in Morocco with my language learning journey and my language learning skills, although I wish I were fluent also with French, but I wasn't. But the first point that I'm going to make is intentional learning. So you will be more intentional with your learning, and you'll have less distractions if you learn the language before you move abroad. I promise you, it'll happen that way. Because the idea of learning a language is always nice. Like I mentioned, it was nice to have Arabic skills. It was nice to pick up a couple of Telugu phrases here and there, but I never put them into practice. And being intentional with what you learn and what you plan to learn is really important, because You might be learning for a specific job, or you might want to get a specific job in the country you're moving to, or you might want to shop at local markets, right? The vocabulary for maybe shopping at a market versus a tech job might be different, or a teaching job might be different. So being intentional with your language learning journey is going to be important so you can communicate to the best of your ability in whatever field is your focus, or whatever is going to be your focus. I think that is so, so important. So I want to also give a little plug. The reason why we are here doing a live stream is because, one, I want to hang out with you all and I want to talk with you all, but I have a video coming out right after this in like 15 minutes, all about my language learning journey. And I'm going to give you a taste of what a week looks like in my language learning journey. So definitely watch that right after this video. And of course, subscribe, like, and comment. Comment what your language learning journey has been like thus far. If you've learned a foreign language, has it been easy for you? Has it been complicated? And you can also tell me why you believe learning a language before moving abroad is important, or if you don't, you can also share that in the comment section too. But we're going to move straight on to timing and excuses. Oh my gosh, y'all. Timing and excuses is a big one. When you get to your country, you will have less time to devote to learning the language unless it becomes absolutely necessary. So unless it's like life or death, or you can't stay in the country because you don't have the skills to communicate, or if your job requires you to have the language, you just won't learn it because you just won't feel like you need it. You won't have the time. All of that stuff comes into play. What I know is you will become preoccupied with other things, and you'll be able to manage without the language. Honestly, you'll be able to maneuver and adapt with people and places that won't stretch you. Okay. Like I said, I want to be fantastically phenomenal when it comes to my expat journey, and learning a language is a part of that. But if you don't do so and you don't have the time to kind of pick up those language skills in the country that you're living in, you will not be stretched. You will just kind of live in this bubble, which I think people coin as kind of this like Americanized or expat life bubble, where everybody speaks the same language, you see the same people, you have the same experiences similar to what you've experienced in your home country or town or wherever you are from. You will just be in that bubble abroad. And that's a little boring. That's a little unfortunate to me. Also, learning before you get to your country will eliminate a lot of excuses that we have. I know that y'all are gonna laugh, I had the opportunity to learn Telugu while I was in India. But the Telugu classes were after work. I was always tired. I would always say, I'll catch it on the next session, the next round. Did I ever catch it? I never caught it. It wasn't, it just, I was full of excuses. And it was unfortunate because I did have the opportunity in the classes where I think they were free. So I missed out on the opportunity because honestly, I was lazy. Let's just say it like that. If I could be done with a full day of work and go home throughout India's traffic and just watch Netflix, that seemed better than staying late learning a foreign language at the time. Now I'm like, oh, I wish you would have just devoted the time. But yes, excuses. We all have them. And they can definitely stunt you when it comes to your language learning journey on the road to becoming or being the best expat that you can be. And you can use, well, let me just transition a little bit better, excuse me. The last reason why I believe you should learn a language before moving to your next country or abroad is because you can use that momentum from practicing now and learning before your move to fuel your new lifestyle. Like imagine landing in a country and already being able to read the signs, knowing where the grocery store is, knowing how to ask for certain fruits and vegetables, and cuts of meats or whatever you eat, just imagine being able to take care of yourself right away without anybody's help. I'm very independent. I don't want to need somebody's help, but I know that I will need somebody's help if I cannot communicate and if they can communicate better than I can. So I just envision like this beautiful emergence of life as I, move to my new country and just already being able to communicate and not being slowed down because I can't read something or because I feel like I need to pick up the translator or because I feel like I need to take an introductory course while I'm in the country. Like I don't want to slow down. I just want to embark and jump in. But, if you've been following me for a while, embarking and jumping in is not necessarily the case. It doesn't always happen like that. And more than likely, wherever I move to next, I will have culture shock. It's just a given. And so, why add culture shock plus language learning mishaps or deficits to all of that? Like, it's just piling one on top of the other. If I could eliminate heartache or hardship when it comes to not knowing a language like Spanish, then I will do so now. I'm not saying when I get to wherever I'm going to move to next that it'll be like fluency and peaches and cream and roses and all of that fun stuff. No, it'll probably still be tough, but at least I will have some foundation and a little bit of backing when I transition. So that'll be really good. And for me, and for you as well, you might have this fear of speaking. I have a fear of speaking. I do. If you can tune in about 10 minutes or so to my next video, you'll see like it's so embarrassing, but I put it in the video. I was speaking with my tutor and she asked me how I was doing, how my day was, what my weekend was like. And I just froze. I know how to say all of those things. I have the vocabulary to say how my weekend was, but I froze. And so I want to get the fear of speaking out of my system now in Spanish so that when I move to a Spanish speaking country, I will be less fearful. I hope. That's where I'm at. So, So, long story short, learning a language before moving is just another addition to the preparation checklist you should have. If you want to learn more about my preparation checklist, please let me know. I'll make a video or I can go live. We can just hang out. Whatever looks good to you, you can tell me in the comment section of this video. And yeah, of course, check out my next video. I keep talking about it. It's going to be a good one. A week in my life learning Spanish and English. Clearly, the struggle is real. And of course, subscribe and like this video if you liked it. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for tuning in to the live broadcast and to the replay. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Mwah.